What is going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of FanDuel Friday, sponsored by the good folks of FanDuel over here at RotoGrinders. I am your host, Andre, aka Drizzy26, and I'm joined by my good friend TJ Zwarych. How you doing, TJ? How you doing this evening?
I'm not doing too bad. Was excited about the FanDuel Friday NBA slates. Felt good about the teams. Had a solid amount of Lowry, maybe not quite enough. And then as soon as Tyrese Maxey happened to got hurt and Joel Embiid started going off, that's when my night started taking a turn for the worst. So a little too much exposure to that Indiana and Houston game. And then the Kyle Lowry explosion made it a bit of a tough NBA night for me, but it's ready. I'm ready to recoup it in these NFL streets. And, I am tempted to run 150 again on this type of slate because I really think I'd be able to keep a nice, tight, small pool this week.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting with this slate for sure. And yeah, NBA really hurt me tonight. Because I figured that old man Kyle Lowry, who we all thought was not going to perform well tonight, but you tip your hat off when the kid does something crazy like that. So he's showing that he still got something in the tank. So yeah, we're here to talk about this NFL slate on Sunday. Here, and it's going to be like a nice one. We got about 11 games today, 11 games to go through and talk about. So we're going to start at the quarterback position and break it down from here. We have obviously a couple of high-priced quarterbacks. Josh Allen in the game that was supposed to be in Buffalo but got moved over to Detroit, where it'll be inside a dome, so that probably increases everything a lot. As well as we got Jalen Hurts, who's having an MVP caliber year, as well as Justin Fields, who also has been playing out of his mind lately. And we're not going to forget about guys like Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow here as well. What are some of these guys here in the from the 8K range to all the way up that you like and are looking at today?
5 QBs in the pool this week. That's it. Only 5. And I'm looking at Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson, and Dak Prescott. They're probably going to be the 5 highest owned. They're not. I'm not going to be getting any crazy different that way. But my biggest advantage on the field this week will be I'm not messing around with anybody outside of the top 5.
I completely understand that. Makes a lot of sense too. I kind of have a little bit of a different view on some things, but when I want to take some chances, so I guess I'm just going to see what happens and go from there. But what are some of the what are some of the what's the reasons that you guys that you like Dak Prescott? I'm actually kind of really interested because I know he's going to like 8%, but I honestly when I did a little bit of research that I did so far, because I mainly start my research today. Typically he wasn't someone that was on my radar a lot. So what makes him on your radar today against a team like Minnesota?
It's not the matchup. It's simply the price. Dak Prescott shouldn't be a 7.4K quarterback. He should be up in the low 8Ks. And so it's really all about pricing. And then when you go on top of the nice cheap price tag that he comes with, he also is in one of the few late games of the slate, which I don't mind. You have a clear wide receiver 1 in CeeDee Lamb, and you're really only I can mix and match Schultz, Gallup, and Brown with probably very limited Brown. And it's not like a Patrick Mahomes where it's like, it's going to be one of these 8 guys. I don't know which. Josh Allen, it's going to be one of these 8 guys. I don't know which. So that's one of the biggest reasons I'm feeling Dak Prescott this week.
Yeah, I definitely don't mind that. It makes sense a little bit too. So do you have a favorite between the top 3 as far as Allen, Hurts, and Justin Fields?
So I think this week I'd rank it Allen 1, Hurts 2, I guess Fields 3, Jackson 4, Prescott 5, but I would be very tempted to go with Jackson over Fields as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense here from my perspective. I do like I might have to look into this Dak thing a little bit, and it makes sense. Definitely because it's gonna be indoors. So the game environment. Sorry, the game environment sets up perfect, so it kind of makes sense. But I do kind of have some interest in a guy like Kenny Pickett GPPs just because the Bengals defense is a little bit banged up a little bit, but I don't know if I'm going to get to him. I have to just dig into a little bit more information and see how I feel about that matchup. But Marcus Mariota, I think, is in an interesting spot against Chicago on the opposite side of Justin Fields, as it is projected to be tied for the highest game total on the slate. So something I don't mind at all. And since you're getting to Dak, I know I probably might honestly want to get to some Kirk Cousins on the other side, especially with Justin Jefferson and Thielen and TJ Hawkinson, since they have a lot of weapons to target. And Joe Burrow, I think, is going to look for some revenge here. So I kind of like Joe Burrow a lot against Pittsburgh and just see how everything goes. Is there anything else you want to say about quarterback before we move on?
No, I don't think so. QB and running back both. I got a really tight pool this week, so we might end up. It's going to be beneficial because it's such a late FanDuel Friday show, but it might end up being a quick one for this week as well.
Yeah, definitely for sure. So, okay, so now we move on to running back here. As you can see, we got Saquon Barkley here going against Detroit, most expensive running back on the slate at 9,700. That's astronomical. That's like Cooper Cup territory where when Cooper Cup was out here balling, and Derrick Henry was out here balling too. So how do you feel about running back? Since you said you have a nice tight pool, what are some of the guys that you're looking at? What is the reason for them? And tell me, who is your favorite?
So I'm gonna be very interested in a guy like Joe Mixon because I don't have Joe Burrow in my pool. And so I'm definitely going to be making sure I get pieces of this Cincinnati offense without going a full blown full game stack in this one because I don't think Pittsburgh's going to be able to keep this one very close. And so having said that, I like Joe Mixon a lot. I'm very interested in a guy like Dameon Pierce, Alvin Kamara. In my lineups that don't have Jalen Hurts, I'm going to want to have a lot of Miles Sanders. He's one of my favorite GPP running backs on the slate. I'll have interest in Jamal Williams, both Washington running backs, Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson. And then my favorite on the slate by far, he's probably going to get the lock button for me, even if I run 150, is David Montgomery.
Yeah, David Montgomery also is a fantastic spot. I think Khalil Herbert's out, if I'm correct.
On the IR.
Yeah, so that leaves Montgomery to get more of a full workload, and then possibly maybe the backup rookie running back to maybe get a little bit. And it's a matchup against Atlanta, who gives up a lot of who's the 28th ranked, as you can see right here on line basically shows you right there. They're the 28th ranked defense against that position against the run. So those tools are very helpful when it comes to that situation for sure.
I would probably this week, just like talking about Justin Fields, talking about David Montgomery, I would probably have Montgomery in every single lineup that doesn't have Justin Fields.
Oh yeah, that's a sound strategy. I think that could definitely work for sure.
Or maybe even a little bit of Treston Ebner.
Yeah, I think I personally probably would. I don't know how much you want to mess with him. I mean, you're running 150 though, so I mean that could be an option, which is not bad. But how much you think he's just going to step right into the Khalil Herbert role and get like 10 to 15 carries on the slate, or no? Like that.
I don't think he is, but I'm not confident enough in that to not take a couple shots on him in 150 at 4,600 when we could use some salary for some of these pay-ups this week, and there's not a lot of salary savings on the board.
Yeah, completely understand and get that for sure. So I personally, like when it comes to this position, I'm going to probably try to go more probably in the mid-range. I like Dameon Pierce, but I don't mind also taking some shots here at a guy like a Dalvin Cook against Dallas. I think that's a little bit of a good matchup, a little bit of a matchup that he can get going in for sure. I also kind of like Jamal Williams here. He just kind of just scares me a little bit, just for the simple fact of his rushing attempts went down a little bit. It was at 24, now it's at 16. And I don't know how much they're working Swift back into things. Like it seems like every week he's getting a little bit more and a little bit more work and carries, and then it's starting to take away from Jamal Williams. But nonetheless, Jamal Williams I think is still in play. And I think that he is someone you have to try to target possibly on the slate. And I also do, like you said, I love the call of the Washington running backs, Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson, against Houston, who is by far one of the worst defenses, if not the worst defense in the league against the run. So I love attacking that and getting like probably over the field on both of them. They're both coming in at single digit ownership. I think that's really hard and it's shocking to believe honestly that that's happening. We got like Tyler Heineke is still going to be the quarterback of that team. So, like running the ball is going to be a huge part of their game plan and to their success, especially when it comes to using the play action and get everything going. And David Montgomery, you spoke to that. He's probably someone that you want to definitely put as a high priority play and get as much as you can. And 6'2" is too cheap for the now role that he is in for sure. So, I would say try to lock him in if you want to, or you not get as much as you can as you possibly can. And I think that Alvin Kamara is also in a nice little spot here where he can where he'll be fine and be able to hopefully bounce back. But we have to see, especially his price being at 7.5, which is one of the cheapest for Alvin Kamara as well. So do you want to move on to wide receiver?
Yeah, let's move on to wide receiver. And I mean, before we do, if I'm running 150 lineups, this feels kind of crazy. But do you know who I'm adding into my pool and I'm even considering? Matt Stafford.
Really? I mean,
no Marshawn Lattimore, no Cameron Jordan. This entire Saints defense is out. The biggest issue Stafford's had all year has been anytime there's been pressure whatsoever, he just folds without Cameron Jordan. I'm not sure how much pressure there's going to be. No Cooper Kupp makes that stack wildly cheap to do something with a little Stafford, Higbee, Jefferson, and Allen Robinson, or maybe instead of Jefferson, you go Skronek. But I think that's somewhat interesting in a 150 max type situation.
It definitely is. It's not that far fetched. It's just he hasn't been healthy all yet. I can't see that happening, especially against Denver. But you never know. Denver, I think, still has a solid enough defense. But hey,
New Orleans is who they play.
Oh, sorry. I'm looking at the top, and I saw Denver for a brief second. New Orleans,
like this defense should be awful this week.
Yeah, and then Cam Jordan is also out as well too. So I actually don't mind the call. So it can definitely be a good spot for him. It's just a matter of how they're going to play and how they're going to attack. Is McVay going to run the ball more or not? So that's something to pay attention to and look at and see. So let's get into. Oh, so I want to mention this guy too, Nick Chubb. Buffalo, I know, has a good defense against the run, but Nick Chubb is just Nick Chubb. He's him. He is that guy. Like, he doesn't matter the matchup. He is matchup proof. And I think, like, and we've always said that, you know, Jonathan Taylor went into Vegas last year and went into Buffalo last year and had a fantastic game against this team. Why can't no one else do it? Nick Chubb could definitely do that at ease, I feel. So I think that he's an excellent GPP play that we should definitely try to get on and probably get over the field on that at least and go from there. So
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. Let's move on to a wide receiver here where we have a number of guys here up in number of guys here in the upper 9K range. I think look very, very, very interesting in GPP. 3 that are sticking out to me that I like a lot of. And that would be like a guy like Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown, and CeeDee Lamb. I think that those guys are elite guys and also in great spots that they can take advantage of the matchup. What is your opinion on these top 3 guys, and who else do you like today?
Yeah, so for me, it's Diggs 1, Jefferson 2, Lamb 3. I agree with that 100%. I'd maybe prioritize them with Lamb at number 1 just because of the price difference, but that's kind of how I'd rank these guys from an like optimally speaking. And then for tournaments, some of my favorite guys on the board, Amari Cooper is probably going to be number 1. They're likely going to be down against the Bills. Tre'Davious White is still out. This Bills secondary is still very, very depleted. And so Amari Cooper up against the Bills, depleted Bills secondary. Brissett's going to be trying to show out in his last game with before Deshaun Watson comes. I really, really like Amari Cooper this week in GPPs. And then I'm also looking at some guys like Darnell Mooney, who I don't think is going high enough owned with how much people like Justin Fields this week. Somebody like Michael Gallup, I think, is very interesting for tournaments. Gabe Davis, always very interesting for tournaments, especially when we like Josh Allen. And then hold on here. My computer just froze on me, so I'm going to look at the screen share. And then Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd is another person I'm interested in. I don't love the Burrow stack, but I do like the idea of, Pittsburgh's secondary is a little depleted right now. No Minkah Fitzpatrick, but they do have TJ Watt back. Tyler Boyd runs a lot shorter of a route tree than T. Higgins.
I think Fitzpatrick is back. He was on the injury report.
Oh, I thought I saw he was still out for this week.
I'll double check that, but I believe he was still on. He was not on the injury report when I last checked this morning. I'll double check that though.
So I mean, either way, I'd like even if he's in, that doesn't honestly make me like any Tyler Boyd any less, because it just makes me like T. Higgins less, and it makes me like Joe Burrow less, and so Boyd is still another guy that I like quite a bit. And then there's some cheapies that I'll take some shots on, like Van Jefferson, Mac Hollins, Jarvis Landry, Ben Skowronek, Isaiah McKenzie, Kendall Hinton. But I think my favorite receiver on the board this week, my 2 favorite receivers for tournaments, are Amari Cooper, number 1, and then number 2, Allen Robinson.
Allen Robinson?
Allen Robinson. No Cooper Kupp.
Hold on.
Somebody needs to there are 12, 13, 14 targets a game up for grabs right now. Ever since the first game of the season, Allen Robinson's had 5 or more targets ever since. He's had 15 points one game, 17 points one game, 10 another, and now there are 10 to 15 targets of Cooper Kupp no longer available. We've known Matt Stafford his entire career has picked one receiver and just zoned in on him. I think this week that's going to be Allen Robinson.
That could be Tyler Higbee. That could be Zwarych.
The Saints are good against tight ends. They are only good against receivers if they're being covered by Marshawn Lattimore, and he is not in. Matthew Stafford is going to have time with Cameron Jordan in there. Ooh. And my second favorite tournament receiver, very close to number 1, is Allen Robinson.
I'm still in shock with this Allen Robinson call. I mean, I get it, and it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. I just dropped him my season long. I'm kind of mad in a way, but Allen Robinson,
Allen friggin' Robinson, my man.
He's not even going to be popular this week either. He's going to be 3-3. I think he's definitely interesting. This is a perfect matchup. It's a perfect storm for him to break out, have a good game. I don't mind the call. I don't. I actually kind of love it. It's just scary, very, very, very scary. But it makes a lot of sense. Someone I'll definitely, he'll be in my pool this week, but I don't know how much I'm getting to him. But I love also the Amari Cooper call. The Bill secondary still is hampering with injuries as well too. So Amari Cooper could definitely at least make up for last week when he didn't perform well against man coverage, which he always destroys typically. So I think Amari Cooper should hopefully have a good game here in this spot too. And as long as Tyler Heineke's at quarterback, I think we got to consider Terry McLaurin here against Houston. I think that's a interesting matchup that he could probably get loose and win too. These mid upper tier receivers, I don't mind Diggs and I don't mind Jefferson as well. I don't know how much a priority that'll be for me. I probably might want to live in the mid range a little bit. I do like AJ Brown a pretty decent amount, but just concerned with how close that game going to stay, especially against Indy. And then we got CeeDee Lamb, who I think is a fantastic spot in a game that I think is going to go over that total. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown too. We didn't mention him. How do you feel about him, especially going against the Giants? Like to me, I think he's an interesting guy. Like obviously he came back from injury. He had 6 and then 1. But then you saw back to what he normally was getting. 10, 9, 11 targets. And he even got a rushing attempt in there, which is really nothing, but it's just 1. But these receptions and targets, it sets a certain floor for him that I think it makes him valuable on that kind of like Cooper Cup level. What is your thoughts on that?
I am all aboard the Amon-Ra train. Yeah, I'm all for it. He's a great play this week.
Okay, just wanted to verify that to make sure. Yeah, so and pretty much like I don't mind any like little other play. Is there any cheaper guys that you like too besides like George Pickens? Besides Darrell Mooney? I know I'm having some interest in Mooney, but George Pickens I think interests me a lot. I like Adam Thielen a little bit. I even kind of want to say I don't mind Donald Peoples Jones as well, but I just don't know how much I'll get to him and if he's even needed on the slate for me today.
I'll sprinkle in Duvernay and Jackson stacks. I'll sprinkle in Donovan Peoples-Jones on teams with Josh Allen. Little Nico Collins, little Van Jefferson, quite a bit of Michael Gallup, and then sprinkles of guys like Matt Collins, Jarvis Landry, Ben Skowronek, and Isaiah McKenzie inside of my Josh Allen stacks.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So we're going to move on to tight end here. We're flying through this slate. But I think we're probably at normal pace for now. But let's see. We have obviously Mark Andrews back on the slate, one of the 2 top tight ends. And then we have TJ Hawkinson, who probably is a third right now after this trade with Minnesota. And then Tyler Higbee, Taysom Hill, Stone Schultz, and Cole Kmet, who's been on fire the last couple of weeks. What are you looking at with these guys, and who's your favorite?
If Mark Andrews is out, my favorite on the entire slate is Isaiah Likely, our guy. Mm-hmm. Just kind of in a vacuum. It honestly really I can't really look at it in a vacuum. Sorry. It really depends on the rest of my lineup. And so to me this week, tight end construction is going to be all about who else is in my lineup. Mm-hmm. If, say, Ezekiel Elliott is in this game, then I'm just going to be completely ignoring Dallas's running game. But if he's out in lineups, I don't have Gallup, Lamb, or Pollard. I'm going to want to make sure I have Dalton Schultz in there. He's one of my favorites. I want to get him in. I love me some Allen Robinson, and I'll be sprinkling in some Van Jefferson. But in the lineups I don't have them, then Tyler Higbee is going to be in there. Okay. Cole Kmet, I'm probably only going to play in my Justin Fields stacks. Justin Foster Moreau, I'll mix in a little bit. Kyle Pitts, I'll have a lot of probably. Kyle Pitts would be probably just my favorite run back to go alongside David Montgomery. I think that's a beautiful correlation to kind of get in your single entry / cash game lineups. But my favorite guy, without a doubt, is going to be Isaiah Likely if Mark Andrews is out. If Mark Andrews is in, I think he makes for a very interesting GPP play. He's cheaper than we're used to seeing him. And then, like, other than that, like, there's just a bunch of guys you can kind of take shots on. I wouldn't call you crazy for playing Pat Freiermuth. I wouldn't call you crazy for playing Greg Dulcich without Jerry Jeudy there now. So all of these guys are fine, and I didn't even mention TJ Hawkinson, who's great, and Taysom Hill, who is a boom bust in any spot. So a lot of very interesting guys to take shots on this week. It's going to be very dependent. Somebody like a Juwan Johnson could be interesting. Dawson Knox. Like, there's just so many of these guys in there that I think are fine, and it's really going to depend on the rest of my lineup. Dave Njoku, another guy I will really like if I'm not playing Cooper or Peoples-Jones in a lineup.
And I completely get that. And these guys are definitely all in play, all have good values, all have good upsides. Because honestly, there's not one person on the slate that really concerns me. Maybe Mark Andrews, if he even plays, but I don't think he's gonna. So no one on the slate concerns me realistically, besides maybe TJ Hawkinson, who his first game showed that he got a lot of touches. So he might be the only one that might be a concern for me at the tight end position. But I don't mind, like you said, using this for more so how you said the quarterback combination or the correlation on the opposite side. I think that's actually a really good strategy and a good way to set that up in lineup HQ that we have here. I'll show you guys how to get to it, just in case. So when you're going in here, you just go to player groups. And if you want, you can set it right here and set up whatever rule you want to set up here for any of these games. So if you want to just make sure you have Hawkinson in every single lineup on here that Kirk Cousins is, you just make sure you pair it right here. Him as a conditional player, Kirk Cousins, if you want to, or Hawkinson, probably Hawkinson, and then make sure that Kirk Cousins is here and only him is able to get into that group for him. That for any time he appears in the lineup, that could be very, very helpful and help you break down lineups. So just want to give you a little brief overview of the tool for that. I do like Cole Kmet. I think Cole Kmet can have another smash game here in this spot. Kyle Pitts is someone that interests me a lot. Isaiah Likely, as you mentioned, that's our guy. That's our boy. I don't know. I really want to play him, especially if Mark Andrews. I think you can play him though, even if Mark Andrews plays, just because he's might
fine, and I'd maybe consider it in Lamar Jackson's sacks, but that would be about it. The biggest reason I wanted to really differentiate it is just because he will be my highest owned tight end if Mark Andrews is out.
Yeah, definitely. Oh boy, Tyrese Halliburton helped to the locker room. Well, there goes our night. Well, at least my night with that NBA.
John Bryant was helped to the locker room earlier too.
Jeez. NBA is a very, 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 very variable sport. Foster Monroe, I think, is another good option against Denver here. Greg Dulcich, I don't mind taking some shots at him too as well. So I'm going to probably have a small tight end pool for what I'm looking at. Nothing crazy, nothing too big. Let's get to some defense over here. Touch on that briefly before we get out of here. Who are some of your defenses that you like?
This will be very brief for me because defense, I am all kinds of confused, and I honestly have no idea this week. There's usually 5, 6, 7 defenses that stand out to me. There's one. The Pittsburgh Steelers stand out to me big time as a tournament defense. The Denver Broncos and Las Vegas Raiders in the same game somewhat interest me. But in a week where I feel like I'm really going to need to save salary, I want to pay down, and I don't feel like there's that many places to do it. If I'm running 150, I think the Atlanta Falcons are very interesting. And just doing a full Bears fade, running it back with Falcons on the other side. But there are really not many teams that I like this week.
Yeah, and I get that. I definitely love the Falcons call. I think that's a great call, especially against Justin Fields. Because all it takes for him is to throw one or two interceptions and him to come back down to earth. And Fields and then you get also a leg up on the field too, by not doing that. So that is something that's great too as well. I definitely don't mind that. I also I'm interested a little tiny bit, little bit in the Cowboys. I know it's a tough matchup, but it's a primetime game. I don't know how Kirk Cousins is gonna play. I'm gonna have to just see like before the game, like watch some film and see how he has performed in previous primetime games. But Kirk Cousins is someone that typically doesn't do well, so that kind of something that I want to maybe attack a little bit here today. And I don't mind getting to the other side of the Vikings as well. Commanders is something I have just too. And I don't mind taking the Saints side as well, with that line being a little bit weak for the Rams, but the Rams also front seven can wreak havoc and probably will wreak havoc on the Saints, which I like that call a lot. I love the Pittsburgh call too as well. They played well with them the first week. There's no reason why they can't keep up the second week and go have a big game. First meeting, sorry, not first week meeting. So I think that's it for defense, and I think that's it for everything. What is your favorite play overall on the slate before we get out of here, TJ?
Favorite chalk plays, David Montgomery. Favorite tournament plays are Amari Cooper as well as Allen Robinson. And then don't be afraid to get different at defense this week. I'm planning on keeping it pretty chalky at quarterback, and then differentiating in my running backs, receivers, tight ends, and defenses today.
Yeah, and I'm completely fine. And that's definitely, I think, a completely good, a sound strategy and a way to hopefully help you take down some this tournament today. So, and also, if you do have any questions for us, hit us up in the DMs on Twitter, or even if you want to write us a message on the FanDuel YouTube video, the messages are able to be written there. So we'll be able to answer them right away. I always try to check them constantly and get back to people as quick as I possibly can. I know TJ does try to too whenever he can. So let us know. Tag us in there also as well, so that way we can they can also notify us when we see it too and go from there. But TJ, where can they find you real quick?
It's on the screen there. TJ _Zwarych 5, ZWARYCH 5, and then you can also hit us up on the FanDuel Friday RotoGrinders page where you're watching this video. And if you are watching it on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button and help us out there as well.
Yeah, definitely. So go ahead, hit that like button, and you can find me on Jersey26 _DFS on Twitter, and I'll be there anytime and available anytime to answer your questions. I hope you have a great one. Thank you, and good luck this week.